These judges say, no. I was appointed by the guy who is precisely the reason that the Americans voted for something different. But you know what? No, status quo. And people talk about destroying democracy.
Yeah.
This is a constitutional crisis, Right. You guys been paying attention to this?
Oh, I've heard a thing or two.
There's a constitutional crisis.
I am scared.
Brewing. I don't know if you know this, but there's a constitutional crisis.
A what?
If you say it 3 times, then people understand. Constitutional crisis.
Appears?
Constitutional crisis.
Yeah.
Constitutional
The crisis of the Constitution?
Yeah, it's a crisis of the Constitution because a judge wants to be president. It turns out that he shouldn't be president and he shouldn't be able to act executively like the president, but the left believes that one of 900 or any of the 900 judges should be able to do that. And if the president says, hey, no, you can't do that, well, then we find ourselves at this impasse of a constitutional crisis.
So for weeks now, we've been exploring a question. Are we in a constitutional crisis? The answer is yes.
Do you agree is
Why
the
is his
United
head so
States
small?
in
Stroke
a
face.
constitutional crisis?
Yes, I do, Kristen, and democracy is at risk.
Constitutional crisis.
Constitutional crisis.
We could be heading for a constitutional crisis.
We are witnessing
I'm just
a
glad he pronounced it right.
constitutional crisis.
I know.
I believe we are in a constitutional crisis.
do you?
And in some ways, saying we are in a constitutional crisis does not convey the gravity of the situation.
Oh, boy.
Constitutional crisis.
A constitutional crisis.
The Attorney General of New Jersey and the Attorney General of Minnesota both said we are in a constitutional crisis.
We're on the precipice of a constitutional crisis.
We are really in a constitutional crisis.
People throw around the term constitutional crisis all the time.
Yeah, you do. That term, constitutional crisis, is back.
Okay.
When did it go away?
Constitutional crisis. I had a stroke today. Yeah. I look like Schumer. By the way, I'm laughing so hard because on CNN, look, Education Department workers get 30 minutes to collect belongings. They just showed them crying. Let's hear what she has to say.
And it feels devastating to me, coming here and packing up my bags, and not knowing when I'm going to get a next paycheck.
Yeah, that's called getting fired.
I mean, has anyone here ever been fired? I feel like everyone here has been fired at least once, right?
I wanted to hear more of her speaking improper English.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. This is some of the educational department. Hey, comment. You guys ever been fired? That's a part of life. It's not fun, and it sucks. And by the way, we take no joy whenever we have to, but we've had to fire people.
Well, I got to shoot the guy doing the button. That was fun.
We've also had to fire people who've shown up to work lit.
That's
and
true.
I don't know because I have a great morning routine. They've been up since 3:53. It's like, how do you still show up lit?
You're so lit. Share your routine.
Vodka in those bottles.
But they see this as a violation of fundamental human rights. They see this right now as a constitutional crisis where some judge who hasn't been elected cannot usurp the authority of the president. So let me
pack my bags and go and do a thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna pack my bags and go buy some Coca-Cola Classic
half an hour
with snap. I'm a snap.
You get 10 minutes. Get out.
So last week, President Trump called for the impeachment of crooked judges on Truth Social. This is the reason they claim constitutional crisis. I'll read this for you for those of you who missed it. This radical left lunatic of a judge, a troublemaker, an agitator who was sadly appointed by Barack Hussein Obama was not elected president. He didn't win the popular vote by a lot. He didn't win all 7 swing states.
All caps.
He didn't win 2,750 to 525 counties. That was me. He didn't win anything. I just love the caps.
I know. Yeah.
I'm just doing what the voters wanted me to do. This judge, like many of the crooked judges I am forced to appear before, should be impeached. And this is one of the things people are making a big deal out of the call to impeach. That's very unlikely to happen.
Right. But it's all caps and 3 exclamation points. So you mispronounced it. Can you please do it correctly?
Impeach!
Okay, there we go. Thank you.
So this prompted a rebuke from who many people believe to be compromised, Chief Justice Roberts.
Here you have Chief Justice John Roberts appearing to push back on statements President Trump made earlier today, suggesting that a judge, James Boasberg, who of course temporarily blocked deportations by the Trump administration, or at least tried to, should be impeached. And here the Chief Justice writes, for more than 2 centuries, it has been established that impeachment is not an appropriate response to disagreement concerning a judicial decision. The normal appellate review process exists for that purpose.
Right, but we'll get into the problem with the appellate process. So let me give you some key facts here. Key fact number 1. And let me set the premise. I actually agree that there may be a constitutional crisis, but not for the reasons that they are claiming.
Yep.
There may be a constitutional crisis because you have people acting as, to put it simply, president who are not president. A president signs an action. A president makes an executive order. And a judge who is not elected goes, no, I'm going to do the opposite of that. That judge is now de facto president, and you didn't vote for that person. So the key fact here, let's start with judges are deliberately usurping power and violating the authority of the executive branch.
You cannot have a democracy where single individual district court judges can assume the full total powers of the commander-in-chief. Even on the Supreme Court, it takes agreement of 5 Supreme Court justices to change a federal policy. 5. A single district court judge out of 700 cannot set policy for the entire nation, let alone on national security and public safety issues.
Think about that for a second. That's no small thing.
Yes.
The Supreme Court justices, they all have to come to a majority decision, right? We know that. We've been through some landmark cases. And in this case, some random judge who hasn't been elected, who may have nothing to do with this president, can impose a nationwide injunction to stop the president of the United States. And that's exactly what is happening over Lay B1. So really, just political opponents can shop for one out of the 900 or so judges across the country. And hey, who cares about the Supreme Court? Hey, who cares about the executive branch? This one judge said so. They are acting as de facto president. Now, technically, the injunctions, I get it. They only pause the actions. But let's be clear about this. That's basically a block because the president is only president for 4 years. In this case, we know there isn't going to be another term. And the cases can often take years to go through that process. So a pause is a block for the entirety, potentially, of his administration.
Yes.
Some guy who you didn't vote for in some place where you don't even live decides what the rest of the country lives with. Hey, remember that vote that you cast? It doesn't matter.
Yeah. The injunction's also a clever way to have cover while doing it. Oh, I just wanted to stop and take a look at this long enough to make sure that we were doing it correctly. I didn't say that you broke the law necessarily. I just issued the injunction to make sure that we could look into it for a couple of years until you're gone.
Right. Imagine you're working at your job and someone comes in, right? Not someone who is your boss, not a supervisor, not a manager, some third party who you've never seen who has nothing to do with your company. He goes, hey, by the way, we're not firing you. We're just going to pause your job without pay until further review. We have to make sure that the system is going according to plan. And your boss goes, no, I don't want to fire him. Yeah, I know, but I have the authority to. So your pause without pay, this may take 2, 3, 4 years to work out. But you're not fired.
Not fired. I wouldn't do that.
Just a pause.
Yes.
That's what we're dealing with here. Here's a key fact. Number 2. This is where political biases come in. These judges hate President Trump. Mm-hmm. And what that really means is they hate you, the American worker, the American voter, the person who you voted for. They revile you. So Judge Boasberg, who just basically blocked Trump's deportation flights or tried to.
Yeah.
Let me give you some background on him. All references available, link in the description. He attended a seminar by Rodel Leadership Institute, who have anti-Trump leaders, funding sources. He also oversaw some grand jury matters that related to President Trump's January 6th case, the classified documents case. He also ordered Mike Pence to testify in Jack Smith's case against Donald Trump.
Yeah, I think, too, on the January 6th thing, he said strict enough laws did not exist to be able to cover that. He wanted more severe penalties to be imposed on the people on January 6th.
This is an activist.
Yes.
It's very clear that this is an activist. And
doesn't he have a job, like a district to represent?
You would think so. You would think he should do his job as judge. But this is also, that brings us to another point. These lower court actions, these blocks, they're not even close when you this doesn't exist in a vacuum. When you compare it to previous presidents. So let's look at the total for Biden. The total as far as blocks under Biden, and that was a high number, was 14. Okay. The total under Barack Obama, 12. The total under George W. Bush, meaning district courts, right? District judges. How many times they blocked the president's agenda? 9 weeks into President Trump's second term? 15.
Gosh.
15. More than Biden in just 9 weeks.
Wow.
Does that prove bias? Well, maybe it's just a happy coincidence for these judges. By the way, do you think that these judges, do you think our justice system that may be looking at some kind of reform, they may have a vested interest in the status quo if they're looking at an administration who says, hey, we have to root out corruption and waste? Hey, who knows? But good news is the judges try and block that too. By the way, 90% of these blocks, of the 15 blocks in the first 9 weeks, they came from Democrat-appointed judges. This one judge here, people will say, oh, he was appointed by George W. Yeah, and then he was elevated by Barack Obama, and that's one of the exceptions. 90% of the 15 blocks in the first 9 weeks have come from judges appointed by Democrats. It's the ghost of the tyrant still hanging around here.
Yeah.
You voted in something different. These judges say, no. I was appointed by the guy who is precisely the reason that the Americans voted for something different. But you know what? No, status quo. And people talk about destroying democracy.
Yeah.
This is a constitutional crisis. You know what? This is pulling at the thread of democracy by having unelected judges doing the bidding of one party that, by the way, isn't even in power anymore, but they're still kind of in power. Think of how scary that is.
How's that protecting democracy?
Yeah, exactly.
It's quite literally not voted in.
Exactly.
Well, and especially on an issue that the American people have spoken broadly and loudly on for immigration. That was one of the top reasons that he was elected president. That judge went to that conference by the Rodell Institute. It was actually one of the things they hated about Trump's policies was specifically the immigration policy.
Yep.
So if I'm somebody who's on the other side, I'm like, he went to this conference funded by these people that don't like immigration policies. I have an immigration issue with President Trump. He's my guy.
Blocked flights of known violent felons.
Yes.
And I watched the legacy media, by the way, this weekend. They referred to all of them as, undocumented citizens, undocumented people, undocumented workers. These are gang members. This is an 80-20 issue. Even people who don't believe in a wall say, well, yeah, of course we should deport people from MS-13. Of course we should deport people who are in violent criminal gangs. This judge says no. You want to talk about being out of touch with the American voting constituency? Only right now they have the power of president. What did you vote for?
Yeah, they're holding a hearing today on it, by the way. CNN's talking about it.
Yeah.
We need Judge Dredd to be like, you betray the law.
That's right. This person is acting like Judge Dredd. I am the law. No, you're not.
Yeah.
Seriously, a betrayal of the law. Oh, wait, hold on a second. Oh, breaking news. Judge rules it can't be fired.
There you go.
Come on.
That's the problem with those lifetime appointments. Here's a key fact. Not a fact, but let's go to category 3, I guess. There are some options here, though, in dealing with this constitutional crisis. President Trump can get Congress, hopefully if they get their act together, pass laws codifying DOJ, their cuts right into law, like USA, Department of Education. Passing laws clarifying birthright citizenship is not for illegals and not for children of illegals who came here specifically to have an anchor baby. They can actually confirm, hopefully, the president's power on issues like immigration or foreign policy, which fall firmly under the executive branch.
Yes,
like,
clearly.
You Schoolhouse Rock, you have legislative, right? You have judicial, you have executive. And in this case, you don't even have the judicial because largely federally we think of the Supreme Court. You have smaller local courts taking over the executive. That's one thing we didn't really think would happen, huh?
No, absolutely not. They've got to come up with the solution to this. Otherwise, this is just a sham.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. You got to get the Supreme Court to rein in these lower courts.
Yes.
And actually, Pam Bondi, AG, who I think is on her 140,000th Fox News appearance.
Consistent.
Predicted.
She's the AG? I thought she was the PR.
Yeah, well, a little column A, a little column B. And yesterday she predicted this is going to happen with a judge like Boasberg.
What can you tell us about Judge Boasberg's ruling and whether or not the Supreme Court is going to get involved here?
Oh, the Supreme Court will get involved. This is an out-of-control judge, a federal judge trying to control our entire foreign policy, and he cannot do it.
She's still not even that great at PR.
No.
I think we just did a better job of it here. But I get it. And with all of these judges giving President Trump so much attention right now, it's a time where hopefully he has the right people around him. He should seek some wise counsel. And everyone is trying to get in on that game, including, by the way, someone who's walked a mile in his shoes, ex-President George W. Bush.
Here's some advice. As president, it's tough being the center of attention. Everybody always wants a piece of you. But there's not enough for you to go around. You need to make time for you. I find that if you go in the Oval Office, put a tie on the door handle, you can be reading your magazines or doing your Sudoku, but everyone thinks you're in there getting nookie.
Look, let me wrap this up here with maybe an analogy that you can understand. Okay, or will help you. Let's say you're on a commercial flight. I don't know, American, Delta, Spirit, if you want to lose a weave.
Yeah.
Southwest. I'm on Southwest.
But the point remains, so you have a pilot, you have a co-pilot. Okay. So let's say you're heading to, I don't know, the Bahamas. Fine. Someone in coach speaks up, chimes in and says, no. Hey, you know what? I'm going into the cockpit and we're redirecting this flight. And everyone in there who paid for a ticket to go to the Bahamas going, wait, what's going on? Hey, stop him from getting into the cockpit. They go, no, hold on a second. There's a process to do that, and we're not going to be able to get through that process until we land. So he goes in, redirects you, and then on the ground they say, well, we're going through the process to see if this is something that we should have been doing. Yeah, but I didn't want to be in Haiti. Now I'm in Haiti. The problem is already here.
And how'd you get by the first class curtain?
Who could penetrate that force? Well, this guy did. We're supposed to have safeguards in place, and instead we're going, no, go through the process. So instead of the pilot, who was the designated pilot, you have some random person in coach saying, no, I'm deciding for the rest of the plane. That's this judge. And by the way, let's go through some other examples. Who do you want? You may not like Donald Trump, but at least you know he was elected. At least you know that a plurality, if not significant majority of Americans voted for him. We went through the process. Everyone knows how this election went. It's one of the few elections in recent memory that has not been questioned by the left or the right. Do you want that guy, the commander-in-chief, the executive who was voted in to make these decisions? Or, let me give you some specific examples. Could be any one of these unelected judges. Like Tanya Chutkan. She was the judge in the Trump January 6th case, despite her bias against January 6ers. She recommended sentences even above what the DOJ suggested. You want her making decisions as it relates to all of you in the United States? How about this guy, John McConnell? He's a leftist judge who blocked the U.S. aid. Other cuts said, no, you can't make those cuts, which are overwhelmingly supported by you. He also said that he wanted to apply laws to minorities to, quote, meet them where they are, meaning different standards of application of law depending on your race. How about Anna Race? She's one of those judges. She's an LGBTQAI judge who blocked the military trans ban, which is overwhelmingly supported. Do you want these judges to be in charge, or do you want the guy who was elected? And by the way, that question goes for you Democrats, because you can elect someone next time. Hey, if you liked this video, you can comment or hit like. You know that because you and I were a lot alike. Probably like dogs. I like dogs. If you like cats, I don't want you here. I'm not making videos for cat people. I told you, if you're a cat, I don't want you here. I'm not doing it. Not doing it for cat people. Dog person, click there. Cat person,